All right. Metal Gets Me High, episode 30. You got me, Al, your host, my co host, Brad, and Razor. And we have a very special guest. We got Victor Henry, active UFC bantamweight. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, fellas? I'm kicking it. It's getting a little chilly over here in Southern California. Well, at least for Southern California standards. But what you gonna do?
Hey,
I'm
same here,
feeling
man.
I'm in my garage right now, freezing my ass off, but I got a little heater
Oh, bro,
behind me,
you.
so we're good to go.
So it's funny. One of my coaches is in Canada right now for a fight for one of our teammates.
Okay.
And he goes, Vic, what's the coldest weather you've been in? And I was like, probably about, what was it, like -4 or to -20, because either it was Alaska that was colder or Russia that was colder.
Ooh, okay.
God.
I could
Either
imagine
way,
Russia.
yeah,
pretty
either
close to
way,
each
I had
other.
to massage my freaking throat for a week to get my balls to drop back out because it was so damn cold. And I was like, hell no. And then my stupid ass, I only took a leather jacket. I didn't take actual
like rain,
like
weather,
actual warm
cold
clothing.
weather
I was like,
clothes.
oh, pack warm. Oh, my leather jacket's pretty warm. Let's see how this works out.
She was frozen by the end. You look like the kid from Christmas Story. Just
Oh yeah. I look more like Jack Nicholson in that one movie. What's it called? The Shining.
The Shining.
The Shining. Yeah.
For
shit,
sure.
That's
Well,
funny.
the way I got put on to you is we all watch fights every weekend. We're big fans, and I remember the first time I ever heard of you was your Heoni Barcelos fight, and I saw like the next day after watching the fight, which obviously was a sick fight. And I was reading an article and it said like UFC fighter walkout songs. And I saw it was like UFC fighter comes out to God's Plan, UFC fighter comes out to Goat Whore. And I was like, Goat Whore? Who came out to Goat Whore? What the hell? And so I saw this, I was like, oh, that makes me like even more of a fan just because we're big metal fans, and that tells me you're a metal guy if you're listening to Goat Whore. It's not like it's Metallica or
AC/DC or something.
AC/DC, something a little more casual. I was like, damn, that's freaking sick, man. How did that go about with the UFC? Like, did they give you any problems with that, or?
Well, kind of. Well, before I tell you that, first of all, I gotta appreciate your shirt, your Grill 'Em All shirt.
Love that place, man.
Yeah.
Oh, bro. So every time that we go there, it's always a trip. But it's funny because my girl's actually visiting from up north, and she's always saying the same thing. Let's go to Grill 'Em All. Let's go to Grill 'Em All. The first time I went to Grill 'Em All, I'm not sure. So Grill 'Em All, for people that don't know, is a heavy metal burger spot.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure you guys know. But anyways, it's a heavy metal burger spot, and they have this secret menu burger called the Berserker.
I did not know that part.
Yeah. So, but it's a chili. It's basically a chili burger, but it's got onion rings stacked with it, and then on the very top, on the bun, there's a skull that's branded onto the top, and it's basically Zach Wilde's burger. But
that makes sense.
Yeah. So the very first time I went there, I ordered the D. Snyder. It was a peanut butter, jelly, and sriracha burger. And bacon.
Talking about Grill 'Em All?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So we went there, and then I ordered the burger, and then the lady goes, "Okay, that'll be $34." And I was like, $34 for a burger? What the hell? And she goes, "Oh, you only wanted the D. Snyder, huh?" I was like, "Well, yeah. What else did you get? What else did you think I said?" She goes, "Oh, I thought you said Berserker." So she turns around and says, "Oh, cancel the Berserker." I said, "Well, hold on. What's the Berserker?" Because I didn't see it on the menu.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, it's this, this, and this." I said, "Okay, I'll take that." And then she turns around and says, "Hey, cancel the D. Snyder." I said, No. I want both." And she goes, "You can eat both?" And I said, "We'll find out in a second." And sure enough, the D. Snyder comes out, and it's a healthy sized burger. But then the Berserker comes out, and it's a big ass burger. And I'm like, I'm gonna finish both of these. And sure enough, I finished them both. And she was like, "Oh, nice. That's cool." And I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like, it was delicious. But anyway,
do I get a shirt or something?
Yeah, well, they weren't giving. They gave me a pin. No. They gave me a little Grill 'Em All pin, which is pretty cool because now it's on my denim jacket. But anyways, back to the original question with the Goat Whore. I did get problems from the UFC.
Okay.
They did give me some stink because they said their main argument was that since it was in Anaheim and that they wanted to put it on ESPN and it was right next to Disneyland and they were marketing to the people that were going to Disneyland and this, that, and the other. They said they wanted to keep it family friendly. And I was like, well, how can you make that argument when this guy's coming out to this rap song and this rap song has cussing, it has drug themed music, it has music that's demeaning to women, like
Yeah.
you can
Yeah,
look at
where's
the
the
average
difference
rap
here?
song and kind of see what it's about.
Yeah.
And my song has no cuss words. It's not demeaning to any religious group. It's not talking about drug culture in any way. Like, it's fast.
Yeah.
That's your
all
problem
it
with
is.
my music. That it's fast. Like, I
Fast
don't
and
get it.
heavy.
And yes, the name of the band is Goat Whore. So yeah, I don't have any I'm not over here thinking that there's nothing wrong with it. But
Yeah.
after making my argument, I just got an email back that said, "All right, your song is approved." I said, "Absolutely.
Yeah,
Here we
hell
go."
yeah.
That is so sick, man.
So you've walked out to in the UFC, Goat Whore and who else?
That's just Goat Whore both times, right?
Okay, so both times.
Yeah, both times.
Is that your like traditional walkout song, or have you walked out to anything else that you really like?
Yeah. So originally, when I started my amateur career, I actually walked out to Van Halen, "Hot for Teacher."
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's a badass
Yeah.
song
So
to come
when I
out
was
to.
when I was walking out originally to that, and then when I turned pro, for a lot of my pro fights, I walked out to Winds of Plague,
Okay, some
the Great
deathcore,
Stone
nice.
War.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Yeah, the
sick,
Great
man.
Stone War. I like the I like the horns in the beginning. I like the way it just built up into the into the intro to the song. But
Yeah.
it's funny because for me, whenever I choose songs to walk out to, I like the buildup of music. I mean, when it came to the Great Stone War, it made me feel like if you ever been playing a video game and then all of a sudden there's a cutscene and then the boss comes in and it's like just this horns and music and all of a sudden it's like brr, it's like
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like an
you
epic
see the
scene.
intensity of the character that's coming in. So when I chose the Great Stone War, that's what I felt like. It felt like the main boss was coming in, the main killer, the main dude. So when I decided to change it, it was actually after I went to a Goat Whore concert,
Okay.
and that was a story in itself. Goat Whore was opening up for Black Dahlia Murder many years ago.
Yeah, we went to that
And my
show
coach,
in
Josh
Marva.
Barnett, which is another metalhead, he's like, "Hey,
Yep.
we got some passes. Let's go in the back." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I'm standing there, and some guy comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, it's a great fucking show, huh?" And Goat Whore hadn't gone on yet, but he goes, "Hey, man, it's a great fucking show." And I was like, "Yeah, man, it is. So far, it's really good." And then he goes, "Everything going well with you?" And I kind of like glanced at him. I didn't know who he was, but I was like, "Yeah, everything's going chill, like just here listening
Can't
to good
complain.
music." And he goes, "Yeah, man, I just got out of jail. My friends had to get me out of jail." And I was like, "Oh shit. Well, I'm glad you're here. And now you get to listen to some good music." He goes, "Yeah, man. Well, I'll see you in a bit." I was like, "Okay." So he walks off, and then next thing you know, this motherfucker is on stage, and he's the lead guitarist for Goat Whore.
Yeah,
And the first
Sammy,
thing he
right?
says is, "Are you guys ready to worship Satan?" And then they just go right into FBS. And I was like,
I
that's
fucking
cool,
love these
right?
guys. Yeah.
yeah. And then right after that, they play their set. Black Dahlia Murder plays their set. And then Josh goes, "Hey, let's go to the back." And I was like, "All right." So now we're kicking it with the band. And I'm at the concession table eating food, just pretty much where you can find me at every gathering. And somebody starts rubbing my shoulders. I'm like, "What the?" And I turn around and it's the lead singer for Panic at the Disco.
What the hell?
Yeah, I was like, "What the hell?" And I look to Josh, and Josh goes, like, I don't know. I'm like, "Okay." And meanwhile, the guy's rubbing my back, like, "Hey, that was a good show, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was fucking cool." Like,
And
you just rubbing my back, bro? Okay, cool, whatever. But whatever. He's into metal. I'm not really into Panic at the Disco, but whatever, bro. Like,
he likes
good music is good
if he's
music.
at that show. Yeah.
100%.
He was at that show and he was rocking out just with everybody else.
That's what's cool about metal, you know.
That's fucking nuts.
It's so much more inclusive than people would maybe know, you know. But you know, there's normal people there. It shows it's not a bunch of weirdos, but there are a bunch of weirdos. So
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I'm
You
one
know,
of
I
them.
mean, you get those types, but then like you said, metal is so inclusive. I mean, how many times have we seen at a metal concert where there's a guy in a wheelchair crowd surfing?
Yeah, it's
A
so
couple
Oh,
funny.
times
it
actually, I've
happens
seen that.
way more often than you'd think.
Yeah, and then you not only that, but you get different ethno groups.
Yeah.
And it's not just a bunch of course, my friends call it because I grew up in Southgate, have mainly Mexican friends, but they say, hey, put on your angry white boy music. I say, hell yeah, we're gonna put on my angry white boy music.
And that's
So
what my dad tells me. I'll be blasting some shit, and my Mexican dad, born under a mango tree in Mexico, this motherfucker's like, "What the fuck are you listening to?" I'm like,
Hey,
"That's some
there's
good
there's
ass
more
music
Mexican
right
Slayer
here."
fans than there are white Slayer fans. That's a fact.
Real shit, especially in
Dude.
California.
yeah, bro. I mean, shit, we call them satanic Hispanics over here.
Hell yeah, that's Ramon
That's
in a
my
Satanic
gamer
nutshell.
Hispanics,
tag.
man.
Hey, that's my
It's funny
gamer
because
tag.
I grew up in Southgate, and
Okay.
that for those of you unfamiliar, Southgate is a suburb of Los Angeles County. It borders Compton, Linwood, and that area. So I grew
Okay.
up around mainly Mexicans. Some black folks, and I was basically the only white person around. But the person that actually originally got me into heavy metal music was my dad. Well, my stepdad, Cacha, Sergio
Okay.
Garcia. And the way it happened was, him and my mom started dating, and he goes, "Vente, mijo, let's go to the storage unit." I was like, okay. So he's picking stuff out of his storage unit, and I find a cassette, you know,
Yeah.
and he goes, I'm like, what's on this? Because all his cassettes were labeled,
Mhm.
or they were in the original case, but this one didn't have a case. All it said was KNAC,
Okay.
and I was like, what's this? Who's Kanak? He goes, Miko, that's a radio station. I was like, okay. Well, he goes, you want to listen to it? I said, yeah, sure. And the very first thing that plays is Mandatory Metallica. This was it was
Oh
basically
shit.
Yeah.
it was a blank tape that he recorded off the radio. And KNAC was an old school heavy metal radio station. They played, Skid Row, KNAC, they played Dawkins, they played all that stuff.
Yeah. That stuff
So
was big in that area too, you know.
yeah,
That's where
absolutely.
the hair
So
metal scene is.
yeah, so what ended up happening was he goes, Miko, you want to go fast? And at the time he had a 1974 Firebird.
Oh hell yeah.
He only had a driver's seat. So
Oh shit.
so I'm holding on, and he's playing, Mandatory Metallica, and all of a sudden I hear Dyer's Eve, and he's going raw, and he's hauling ass down the freeway going 120 miles an hour.
That's a hell of a way to be introduced to metal, man. That's
Yeah,
gonna be memorable.
and then he, of course, he's like, Miko, you like that music? Let me tell you these other bands. Let me show you Iron Maiden. Let me show you this. Let me show you that. And, that's where it pretty much started.
The introduction
That's cool,
to
man.
the metal scene. That is crazy that a memory like that sticks with you, especially being that young and just first thing, and like you're able to recall it. Just Metallica was coming out. You remember the song and everything.
There's a feeling to it. You're in a loud car, like it seems like that's gonna be extremely memorable in every way.
Yeah, especially going 120 miles an hour, no freeway, and you're just holding on to a roll cage.
Oh man, that is so cool.
Shit.
As far as like you loving metal, do you usually go to shows pretty often, or do you listen to it often? Like how does metal kind of fit in your life?
Well, I'm pretty much always listening to some form of metal.
Okay.
So I think this morning I was listening to Faulkner, which is they're one of those Swedish bands, and you get Viking feels out of that.
Yeah.
I think before that I was listening to Gygax, and before that I was listening to old rock and roll, Led Zeppelin and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting is that I will listen to different metal bands, and going from just your black metal, your death metal, all that, and then it'll remind me of different songs from different genres. For instance, "Smells Like Teen Spirit." The intro with the drum and the snare. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
it's the same thing as the Gap Band, "Early in the Morning."
Okay.
So I'll start
Yeah,
listening
yeah.
to the Gap Band out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen to that. So
That's
the main thing for me when it comes to metal music is the fact that I feel like I sync so well with drums. Like
Mm.
whenever like the guitarist can shred, the vocalist can hit high notes and low notes and all their stuff, but the part that gets to me most is the drum. When you start
Yeah.
listening to bands like Meshuggah, and they start
Crazy.
and they all of a sudden it's like it's like damn, you just sitting
yeah.
there doing this.
It just does. Yeah, it doesn't even make sense. You can't help but headbang on that one.
Yeah, but
They're
it's
absurd.
like you're sitting there and I mean it's just great. It's metal music helps it it really helps get out all that energy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, get out all the energy, but then at the same time it's like it helps you store it, and it helps with of course it helps with training, but of course you
Yeah.
don't want to listen to metal all the time while training, because then you're just gonna you're gonna bleed out. But
Pissed off. Yeah.
there's all sorts of metal that helps just get you through, especially
Yeah.
a hard workout, or if you're on the bike and you're just trying to haul ass, listening to metal in a muscle car is a dangerous thing. I'll tell you that much. You start
It's
hauling ass
very
and
well. I got a I got a red light ticket on the way to work one time listening to "Sick" by Slipknot.
Yeah.
Fuck. So I'm with you. I know how that goes.
He had the
It was
need
that's
for
cool.
purely
speed.
because of that song. It was purely
Yeah,
because of
just
that
because of
song.
that song, you just like, I'm going for it.
I'm going
Um,
for it.
when it comes to being being a metalhead, it's funny because like a lot of the people that I would grow up with, they grew up to be cholos, and
Okay.
all the older crowd that were beyond me, a couple of years older than me, you know, they were cholos, so me growing up in Southgate, especially after my dad introduced me to heavy metal, you know, my mom didn't let me have my own haircut till I was 16. So I had long hair pretty much, until I started high school or whatever, like
Yeah.
14, 15, I started high school. So,
Yeah.
I basically had long hair up until then. I started skateboarding and all the things. So a lot of the cholos would be like, hey, you worship the devil, huh? And I was like,
What the fuck?
yeah, no, no, not really. Like, I mean, I like heavy metal, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
I also like CCR. Like, CCR was my
Yeah.
first concert.
That's sick.
Yeah, so
I mean,
going
that's
from Credence to
yeah.
listening to Goat Whore,
The
that's
road,
quite a
the
it's
journey.
quite a jump.
Yeah, quite a
Yeah.
journey on that one.
But you know what? Even like on some weird stuff, like all metal is based off of rock and roll. You know what I mean? So that's not Credence. That's some old rock and roll. Some old like anti-war music. That's like you really sit there and think about it at the time. It's like not that far away from like say Black Sabbath, who has some similar lyrical contents as far as like anti-war, and they're in that same time frame. So that's it's all connected, guitar music, I
Yeah,
feel
they all
like for the
fed off
most
of each
part.
other.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And they pulled off of blues, and then the
Yeah,
blues guys
blues.
got it off of bluegrass, and the bluegrass guys got it off of old Irish jigs, and the old Irish jigs pulled off from this and that, and the old African beats, and everybody pulls off each other because everybody when it comes to music, it's supposed to be all inclusive.
Yeah.
But then it
Yeah,
seems to me also that the most inclusive group tends to be metalheads.
Yeah, and what's funny that I love about metal that's
definitely.
is like a weird thing that metalheads have is like I think metal's supposed to have no rules, and then sometimes people like they want to make rules for the music, but that's how you get stale music if you have rules where it's like if you're gonna be black metal, you have to make black metal like this every single time. You can't pull influence from different subgenres, and
Well, look at the the death metal scene right now. It's just a bunch of a lot of it
hardcore
is these
kids
hardcore kids that have the influence from hardcore, these older hardcore bands, and they're incorporating it in
in
death
death
metal.
metal. Yeah,
And I would say that the death metal scene right now is it's at a new level.
it's
Just with
popping
the
right
release,
now.
yeah, it's popping right now. And yeah, it's all like they brought something over from a different genre, which really enhanced it, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
do you remember that video of the it was the old video of these kids rocking out over at Denny's? You ready to
Yes,
tear this place up, Denny's?
Yeah, the Teddy
dude.
show.
That was so sick when that happened, and then like I know shows were like people were trying to book shows at Denny's after that, like at different Denny's around America, as they
Yeah.
saw that, and that's sick. And I think just recently, there's this YouTube channel that I follow pretty closely called Hate 56. It's
Mhm.
a gentleman named Sonny Singh, and he goes and records live sets every single night. And just recently, two bands did, I think it was a band, two hardcore bands called Scowl and one called Gel. They played a looked like a packed show at a freaking Sonic Drive-In not too long ago. So that's like the cool DIY part of the metal scene too.
Yeah, it's so I work over in downtown Fullerton, and
Okay.
right now, since the slide bar has closed down,
Hmm.
I think there's a black hole for well, there's certainly a need for a spot in downtown Fullerton for metalheads to go to and enjoy heavy metal music. You know,
Yeah.
the bar scene and the club scene is basically ruled by top 40 type stuff.
Mm,
Oh
You
shit!
know,
Okay.
without that, without slide bar, I feel like, hey, I even told my bosses, hey, why don't you let me do Metal Mondays over at the bar?
yeah.
See what kind of
Yeah.
bite we get. You don't know, because I mean, right now we're listening to the Bad Bunnies and we're listening to the
Yeah.
Taylor Swifts, and I'm behind the bar like,
Falling asleep.
all
You're like,
right, I gotta listen
I
to
want
this
to
stuff
shoot
again. But
myself
hey,
because of shit.
but they do give me a little bit of freedom sometimes. Like, hey, it's the end of the night. What you want to listen to? I'm like, I got you. We're listening to Watain.
Oh
Hell yeah.
man.
Oh
And,
shit.
and then I feel like it somewhat ties in metal. Like how did you get with Josh? Because obviously he's probably the most well known metalhead athlete, I would say.
Well, with Josh, what ended up happening was I was fighting out of another team at the time, and
Hmm.
he had done a seminar as a favor to a friend who was on the fight team, but he wasn't a fighter. He was just training because he liked training.
Yeah.
Um, so what ended up happening was that Josh did a seminar there. He found out that me and some other kid, Jordan Wright, were interested in fighting. We had already had a couple fights, a couple amateur fights, and he goes, "Why don't you guys go to CSW and get some sparring in with some other fighters?" We're like, "All right, cool." Well, eventually, the my trainer at the time decided he didn't want to coach anymore because it just wasn't making him enough money. He couldn't
Yeah.
live off that. So Josh calls me and he goes, "Hey, get your ass to CSW." I said, "Man, hey, I don't have a job. I can't pay membership right now. Like, I'm struggling." He goes, "That's not
Yeah.
what I asked you. I said go to CSW." I said, "Shit, all right."
Fuck
So I
yeah.
showed up and he goes, "You have a pro fight in 3 weeks." I said,
Oh.
"Shit, okay." And I had just lost my last amateur fight. And I'm like, "Well, fuck, okay." So that's basically how he came into my life. He did a seminar, and as soon as I showed up to the gym, he got me a fight. And then he
Holy
saw what I
shit.
was about, because I wasn't just like, oh, I wasn't just saying that I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Anytime he
You
gave
were
me an
in it.
opportunity to do something, I did it. Anytime he
Yeah.
asked me to do something, I did it. There have been times where he goes, "Hey, I need your weight," and I'd be teaching a class, and I couldn't tell him my weight because obviously I wasn't on my phone. And he goes, "Well, too bad. I signed you up at this one tournament, and you're going to be wrestling at 135." And here I am, and I weigh 147, and I'm like,
Oh
Fuck.
shit.
shit, the tournament is in 2 days. Like, I gotta cut all this weight. So I did,
Hey,
and
that's
I cut the weight, and I wrestled, and I did well, and so he saw that I was about it, and from then on, he was like, all right. It took me a couple fights and a couple grappling tournaments for him to even consider, having me around. Because until then, I was just another kid that was talking about fighting. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that talk about it, and there's not a lot of people that are being about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes
And
sense.
so going from your gym to to working with somebody like Josh, because he's got such a extensive resume in fighting, and I've heard him on a couple podcasts, and he's just so intelligent. Would you like, how much has he raised your game in terms of that aspect? Because he seems like ridiculously smart. He's like, yeah, he's
Very
smart,
well
and
spoken.
he's well spoken. It feels like he can get the point across, you know.
Yeah, well, with somebody like Josh, you have to remember that, he's established. He knows what he's talking about. Like, just like you said, he's smart. Um, so he has knowledge to impart. So what does somebody like me do? Do I sit there and just be receptive? Hell no. I'm gonna be receptive, and I'm gonna ask questions, but I'm also gonna have an attitude and talk back and talk shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You gotta
now
be
I'm
part
an
of
interesting person. Now it's like, this son of a, whatever. So, over the years, of course I'm like, hey Josh, and I'll ask him a question about technique or strategy or this, that, and the other. And he'd be like, okay, we'll go into it. And I'm like, nah, that wouldn't work. And he goes, why? Why wouldn't it work? I was like, because you're 260 pounds. I'm
Yeah.
150. I have to find out a more slick way to do this. And he goes, well, figure it out. So there's been a lot of self-discovery, I guess, with a guy like Josh trying to teach you, because everybody's got their own style, their own way of doing things, and
Yeah.
according to body type and according to strength levels and the way we would just what we default to as far as our own fighting styles. Just like there's always a band that you kind of go to because you're always in the mood for that band.
Yeah.
But then sometimes,
100%.
I don't feel like listening to anything else, or nothing is ringing with me right now. So I'm just gonna go to that one band that I know I always like, which is the same thing in fighting. You're always gonna go to your default settings, when you're in the trenches, or when you're tired, or when you're fatigued, or whatever,
Yeah.
So with Josh, he's taught me how to really pull that out of myself, and especially when you want to go on autopilot, you don't, and you start thinking more. Like, listen, I could go to this, but that's probably what the other guy is expecting, so I'm going to go to that instead.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I got a quick question. What was your first discipline? What got you into it? I don't know if we had a chance to go over that, but what was the first thing that you caught on to?
First thing I caught on to, sucker punching people. No, Taekwondo. Taekwondo was my very first martial art discipline that I was around.
Oh,
Okay.
hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. I started going because when I graduated junior high, my mom was sending me to a private school, and the only thing this private school had was basketball. I'm 5'7" as an adult. Can you imagine how short I was? As 14 years old. I was like,
Hey, I'm
not
there
happening.
with
I
you.
hate
I'm
this
there
stuff.
with you.
So what was cool is that at the time I was hanging out with some new buddies of mine, and I started going. My mom was like, "Here, you're not gonna just do nothing. Like, you need to do some sort of sport because you have too much energy." And I was already skateboarding, so she hands me the local paper, and there was 25. There was Taekwondo for $25 a month.
Okay.
So I walked in and I saw somebody get kicked right in the mouth, and I was like, I think I want to do that. So I started training, and then like a month later, it turns out that my friends that I had already been hanging out with, turns out they were black belts, and they actually knew the instructor. So
holy shit.
yeah, so they were like, oh yeah, we got our black belt at the same school that he got his black belt. I was like, really? So now it's me and my friends punching each other and kicking each other in the face. And then after training, after doing all that, we would go home and we'd all just be hanging out.
Oh man, so it was just super easy to get into it because you had the group
easy
of friends.
Yeah, because then now,
so
I mean, again, it was fresh to me, but it wasn't fresh to them. So I would ask them questions. Hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? Hey, what about this? And they were like, I'll show you next time. I'll show you in there. I'll show you in there. And they would show me. I would get there a little bit early, and they would show me a couple little extra moves, and then I would try it on people, and then I would try it on them, and then that's how it graduated. I mean, I'm still friends with those guys today. They're my best friends.
Oh,
we go biking on the weekends sometimes, and they're not training as much as I do, obviously, but it's just, martial arts not only led to me meeting one of my, of course, a coach of mine, Josh Barnett, but he changed my life in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But, one of the reasons why Josh even spent so much time with me is because he's interested in me as a person too, not just an athlete.
Yeah.
And that came through heavy metal. We
Yeah.
both dug a lot of the same music. So heavy metal, martial arts, all those things. I mean, heavy metal and martial arts basically shaped my life.
Yeah.
From my
Yeah.
dad giving me heavy metal to me listening to all sorts of heavy metal. Now, I'm hanging out with Josh. Josh is a metalhead that he also likes martial arts, and I'm over here learning martial arts as a younger kid. It's crazy the way everything, just basically came together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. I would love to be in the training room with you guys, just thinking about what songs are being played with everybody being metalheads there. I'm like, that is the coolest environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because well, the last we were listening to Judas Priest today
Oh,
on
yeah.
the radio. Well, all over the whatever music platform they were using at the gym.
Yeah.
Priest, that Priest was coming on. So all that kind,
Yeah.
that kind of metal. But everybody's kind of just doing their clinch work and knees and elbows and going for snap downs and trying to choke the hell out of each other. And that's the playlist. That was the playlist of today. Tomorrow, I'm looking at listening to Kvelertak.
Kvelertak. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
so that's
I
actually, I've
haven't
been
listened
thinking
to them in a
about
minute.
using Bluetooth as my next walkout song.
Oh, that's sick, man.
That would be
'Cause
badass.
they haven't put anything out in a while, and they're one of those bands that they have a very well respected discography, and
They deserve the love.
yeah,
Yeah,
hell
they
yeah,
do. You know
man.
what? I was really upset. A long time ago, Josh showed me a band called Speed Wolves.
Speed Wolves, okay.
Yeah, and he goes,
Familiar
"Oh,
with
they
them.
only have one album." And I was like, "Why?" He goes, "Oh, because they broke up." I was like, "Motherfucker!" I want as soon as I heard him, I was like, "This band is great." And then, sure enough, they broke up, and I think recently they got back together for like a little small tour, but
Okay.
I missed that boat.
Ah,
Man,
that
that's the
is the
worst.
worst. Yeah, like uh, we've had one thing that's kind of happened like that. Brad one time missed out.
Don't
We
bring it up.
saw
Are you really gonna bring this up right now?
we saw me and Ramon, we saw Power Trip a few months before Riley unfortunately passed. And Brad, he's at work right now, that's why he's a little MIA, but he was working some crappy job and he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I'll just see him next time. And then, unfortunately there was no next time. So,
Wasn't a fucking next
that's
time, man.
and that's kind of just the thing too, like for people to know, like if you have the means to do it, go to the show that you want to go to, because unfortunately, like you might not get that chance, and that's terrible, man. To
Yeah,
this
you want to
day.
talk about missed chances? I had a fight I was training for, and Iron Maiden was in town,
Oh, okay.
and I was like, I want to go.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, you know what? It's a Wednesday night. I can't just go see Iron Maiden tonight and expect that I'm going to have a good training session Thursday morning. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm not going to go. This fight was in Japan.
Oh.
So I was training. I was training here in California. They played a show in California. Well, guess where their next stop was? Japan.
Japan. No.
So I went over to Japan
Man.
and found out that they were, a couple cities over. But by that time, it was too late. So I missed. Can you imagine missing Iron Maiden twice in 1 week?
No,
Twice in the
man.
same week.
I can't, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was like, but then I got lucky. A few years later, I was having an anniversary with my girl, and she goes, "Oh, I got you a gift." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Where are we going?" She goes, "You gotta drive over here." And if anybody's been to a show, you kind of recognize the signs. You start looking around. It's like more and more people are wearing Iron Maiden shirts. What is this?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it gets really packed, and you're like, Why is everybody offering parking? And you seeing all the parking signs and all the Iron Maiden shirts. And then all of a sudden you see a big crowd and you're like, we're going to go see Iron Maiden, aren't we? Hell yeah. And then the first song they played was Aces High.
Oh, hell yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, so it was, I mean, that was a great anniversary. Shit. I don't care how she felt. It was great for me.
They're unfortunately a band that we haven't got, because our predicament is we're an hour and a half from any shows that we go to. So like you got to pick and choose. Like I'm lucky enough that my girl lets me go to like one a month, right around there. So like having to go to a second show in a week or whatever, or in a month, it gets a little dicey. But they were just recently in town with Trivium for us. But the problem with that is we just saw Trivium, and there was a show that we're going to within the same week too. And I was like, I guess we got to fucking skip this one, unfortunately. But they're definitely
Did you say
on
an
the
hour
list.
and a half?
Yeah, hour and a half.
Can you imagine being 15, 16 years old, and there's a cute girl that's going to give you the time? You think an hour and a half is going to stop you?
No,
Absolutely
probably
No, absolutely not. You gotta live life like it. Like didn't you just say you gotta take these opportunities because they're might not be next time?
You're absolutely right. There's that, like the three bands I can think of off the top of my head that like I want to have seen but I haven't seen, are probably like the biggest ones. Fucking Metallica,
System of a Down, Metallica,
Iron Maiden,
Iron Maiden.
and System of a Down. Fucking with Metallica, the thing with them is like, dude, every time they come around us, tickets sell out, and it's like, damn, I gotta pay $400
Yeah,
to go
it's
see
ridiculous.
to go see Ant Metallica from the rafters. But
To watch James Hetfield on a fucking
but
screen.
them with Pantera in LA, that might be enough to pull me out to Los Angeles, because dude, fucking
I mean,
I know
it
the Paul
would be
brothers are that
understandable
night.
if you said LA kind of sucks because, but yeah,
But I recently, this year, I went to my first show in the LA area, and dude, it was a sold out show, and it was probably one of my favorite shows that I went to on the year. And I was like, dude, this scene down here is cool as fuck, because our scene could be a little bit lame sometimes, because I don't feel like the Bay Area or Sacramento is a big market, so we always get like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show. But this one was a Saturday show in Pomona. It was a obituary, gate creeper, municipal waste, freaking killer show. And I was like, dude, I kind of like the scene down here. So it's funny you say that.
yeah.
So
I mean,
one of
it's
my
great.
favorite
I mean,
scenes
LA
is the
can be great, especially afterwards. You got everybody selling the bacon wrap hot dogs, and then all the
Yes.
Oh,
tacos
bacon hot dog.
that's everywhere,
Bacon
all the
hot
taco
dog.
trucks.
Bacon hot dog. You know what?
Yeah.
Speaking of this, I actually had to ask you this. Would you agree? Because I have an argument that California, you know what? I'll just say specifically California has the best Mexican food in the world. You're a well-traveled person. You've been to probably a couple more states than us. Would you say we have the best Mexican food?
Absolutely. Anybody who disagrees is
Hands
wrong.
down.
Yeah.
Hands down. Right?
Get out of here with
Well, it's funny
Tex-Mex.
because like you get these people from like let's just say Arizona or Texas. It's like, oh, we
Fuck
have the
outta
best.
here
It's
with
like,
that.
yeah, you got
Fuck outta
Tex-Mex.
here.
It's not, I guess you guys got Tex-Mex, and even Arizona. Hey, we have,
Dude,
they have their own
thing-
form of it.
Yeah.
The only good thing about Tex-Mex is queso.
It's
The only
queso,
good thing about it. That's it. It's queso. That's it.
Yeah, I think for sure California has I think because we have so many styles, like estilos nazareño, estilo this, estilo that, and people from Sinaloa making it,
Yeah.
Guatemala, just the
Michoacan
Guadalajara,
over here,
they're just everybody making their own versions of things, and then what ends up happening is that you get a very small culture of I should say a small subculture of a certain food type, and then you bring it over here to LA or anywhere in California, and then it starts to mold or meld with the local culture, and then all of a sudden it becomes something brand new.
That's how you get a California burrito. You get some French fries and some shrimp with some asada
and some aguacate.
Hell yeah, some aguacate.
Bro, I mean, I'm all about that,
dude. That's one thing too about me. Like I could eat the same thing, most days, and more specifically Mexican food, because the beauty of Mexican food is you could eat something different every time. You know what I mean? Like if I go to my local taco truck, I could get a quesadilla one night, I could get a torta one night, I could get tacos. Like I love them. Sometimes like
And
my girl,
out here in the Central Valley, we have some pretty goddamn good Mexican
yeah,
food.
and sometimes my girl will be like, "We can't have Mexican food like the 6th day in a row." Okay, like we need to figure something else out.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about Mexican food? That it's basically all the same ingredients in different orders. We have
Yeah.
frijoles, arroz, some sort of
Meat.
carb, whether it be tortilla, it could be bread, and then we have
Rice.
you know, of course, you know, some sort of carne with al pastor, asada, lengua, tripa, whatever. It's all
Yeah.
those ingredients mixed in certain different ways.
Yeah, yeah. That's it's so simple, but you could do so much with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude,
You know what? It's funny.
That's my favorite.
I'm gonna send you guys this taco spot that I just actually went to today. So if you ever find yourself in the Orange County area, it's this place called Tacos Los Cholos
Okay.
down here,
Oh, I already
and they got
it.
They got
they
it
got
on
some
deck.
good stuff.
We got
They
some
got
Alright.
that
kill.
heat.
We go out
It's like
to
it's
LA,
well,
so
the best thing
we'll
I
check it
can maybe the best thing I can the best way I can compare it to is you just found a new band that every song on their record is freaking tight.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's not
There's
like you're
nothing better than
discovering
that.
metal for the first time, but you're
It's just
it's like,
banger
oh
after
man, they do
banger.
this way, they do this that way. I mean, they got prime rib tacos.
Oh, prime rib
Oh
tacos?
man, hey, a prime rib taco sounds like I'd make the journey just to get that.
Oh, bro, they
I'll
got
drive a
prime rib
few
tacos
hours.
with a chipotle aioli.
Oof. You know what? That sounds bomb, because one time in Oakland when I was getting tattooed, there was a Mexican seafood restaurant, and I was able to get a surf and turf burrito, but it was steak and lobster. And dude, that was so good. I was like, how has no one thought of putting lobster into a burrito? It was a fucking expensive burrito, but it
Lobster makes
stood out.
everything better.
Yeah. I got a funny story about San Francisco. I went out there to a long time ago to finish a tattoo that I had started in Japan.
Oh shit, okay.
And I go to this one taco spot, and they go, oh, con todo, mijo. And I was like, yeah. Usually when they say con todo, you know, they put, you know, guacamole, you know, they put
Sour cream, cheese.
the onion, the cilantro, but
Cilantro,
they leave the salsa to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Not this place. I said con todo, and they put the hottest shit they put. They go, no mames, mijo, así está. And the first thing they say is no pica. And I was like, man, even though I'm half Mexican, I'm still a sissy when it comes to spicy foods, and I'm getting better. But they enchilado. That's what I can say. Is that my mouth was burning. So I got 3 or 4 of these tacos, and I was like, you know what? This is too hot. I can't take it anymore. So I'm outside, and I turned to this homeless guy, and I was gonna give it to him. But before I even say anything, he just runs up and he takes it. And he eats it. Now, what happened the next day was funny because I had to go back and finish up my tattoo. I go back, and who do I see? The homeless guy, which got my burritos. I mean, my tacos. And the first thing he said, hey, motherfucker, you know, you freaking, that shit that you gave me yesterday had me shitting in the bushes for 30 minutes. I was all hot and spicy. This thing came out just as hot. I was just like, bro, like, you stole that thing from my hand. I was going to ask you, but you literally took it out of my hand. But he was like, I don't know if he was off a bender and then just needed something to eat. But either way, super enchilado from both ends, just, you know.
That is hilarious, so dude. That sounds like a San Francisco story, though.
If you're homeless, you do not want to eat spicy food. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, like, no, I mean, especially if you got to consider if they already have an empty stomach and then they get this just burn. They get this salsa that's habanero salsa, and then they just throw it in you.
Oh shit, that's so funny.
I remember once because I used to have a husky. Speaking of which, I used to have a husky, and this dog would eat anything you put in front of him. So I remember one time I offered him a jalapeno. This fucking dog ate a jalapeno.
He's like,
a couple hours later, I hear in the back, and I go and I look in the back, and my dog is like in that dog poop position, and he's like, you can tell he's pinching it short because it's spicy. I was like, Nanook, are you okay? Are you okay, Nanook? And he's like, you know how they kind of do like the like, I'm all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gives you that look like I'm good. I'm struggling,
Yeah,
but
and
I'm
this
good.
freaking dog ate a whole jalapeno. This freaking dog.
Dude, that is freaking awesome. I've done that too, dog. But he like spit it out, and but after like kept licking the lips, like, oh man, you bastard.
Nah, dude, not Nanook. This stupid dog just I ate it. I was like,
Just devoured
what
it.
is wrong with you, dog?
The
Southern
other,
California Latino Husky.
Fuck yeah.
it gets hot out there too, man. You
Yeah.
know, and something that I found impressive, like as far as you as a fighter, is being someone who watches the fights all the time, like you being a casual person, a newcomer, so to speak. You know, the freaking UFC gives you Heoni Barcelos and Rafael Sunsao. Like those are some demons, brother. Like, and you're out there, you're holding your own. Your pace in both fights is freaking crazy. I
Yeah.
know, obviously,
Yeah.
in
They were
the
fucking
recent fight,
entertaining as fuck.
you didn't get the result you probably wanted, but dude, like you're in that fight. You're there.
Yeah, well, you just gotta go. I mean, I don't want to be in boring fights because who the hell wants to see a boring fight?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've made my case clear that I'm not there to fight cheese balls.
No.
The UFC used to be where everybody knew everybody. And now the UFC is such a big company that there are a lot of fighters who, it's almost like you have grade levels of fighters in the UFC. You have your your A class fighters, which obviously the top tens, and your champions and your real popular guys. And then you
Yeah.
have your B level fighters who are really good contenders. Maybe they're just outside of the top 15, but at any point they can be in the top 15. Then you have your C level fighters, which is kind of like, well, you're going in there and you're there to fill up a fight card. And the UFC has TV deals, ESPN deals, pay-per-view deals, and it's a huge company. What they do for their fighters is great, because you have the UFC PI that's available to you, dietitians that are available to you, supplements being sponsored. They do a lot for the fighters.
Yeah.
That's on the back end, not just fighter pay.
Have you had a chance to take advantage of the PI? Because from everything I've seen, it looks amazing. It looks crazy.
Yeah, I've been to the PI. I've been to the PI a couple times, and it is a really good gym. They of course, any place is what you make of it. But they have things available to you. They have your hot and cold recovery with a hot bath and a cold bath. They have your their UV their UV light therapy and massage therapy, and you have your nutrition there, and of course they have this huge gym that you can just go and practice with your coach or your team.
Yeah.
It's I mean, if you want to think about what you would think is a traditionally awesome big gym, it's not like that, because it's not meant to be catered towards massive amounts of people or massive classes. It's not catered. It's supposed to be catered towards an athlete.
And
So
athletes
you have
do their thing.
so you have like very specific workout equipment that you can't really find anywhere else, because it's very specialized equipment for fighting, or for whatever you're trying to do, So the PI is actually a really good resource to have, especially if you stay in the Vegas area.
Hell yeah.
I wish they would have like another PI for California-based fighters.
You'd think they'd have
cool.
it in Southern California of all places, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be an awesome idea, but the only thing is like, at that point, I don't know how much money they're making through the PI, because the PI is not. I mean, as a UFC fighter, I'm not paying to get into the PI. I go in, I just got to make an appointment, right? But the UFC is using the PI. It's a huge building, and a lot of it is used for office area, and like I said, the UFC is a huge company. It's a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they have their departments, their medical department, their this department, that department, that every department that a multi-billion-dollar company would have.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Do you have? I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want to fight, around this time because you want to eat good food. But do you have an idea when you want to get back in the swing of things?
Yeah, I want to try to get back in there February, March next
Okay.
year. I have to heal my hand. My
Okay.
I broke my hand in the first round of my Sun fight, so that kind of sucked.
Oh,
But
shit.
Yeah.
you know, either way, a Sun did put on a great game plan, and it worked. You know, it was there's a reason why he is who he is. And even though I was
Yeah.
fully expecting to win and win in an exciting fashion, didn't happen that way,
Yeah.
and that's just the way fighting is.
You know what? I had a chance because I saw it originally when when live, and then I had a chance to rewatch it yesterday, and it was you both. It was such a good
It was a
fight.
close
It was really
fight,
back and forth. It was very close. Me and Al watched it twice together, just trying to break it down. We're like, dude, this is fucking close. Like
And
this is. Oh
what I
yeah, it's
liked
hard to
about
score.
you compared to a lot of other fighters is like you were so busy with your guard on your back, and like it drives me
Yes.
crazy sometimes when
Yeah.
people will just like stay there and you're just throwing up your legs, threatening submission. And you got you were getting close
Grabbing
a
a
couple of
leg, trying
times,
to get something.
and
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
well,
It's like, dude, you
you
got
guys ever
cardio for
seen
days.
Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah, hell yeah,
Yeah.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Like you did not stop. So I was like, dude, like you must train fucking hard because that's gonna take a lot of cardio for you to be the guy who's
Especially
constantly
grappling.
going forward, but then grappling and then being on your back and getting up and threatening submissions. Like that takes cardio, man. And
Yeah,
you
well,
fucking got it.
the Carl Gotch said that your best submission hold is your gas tank, is your cardio. Cardio is your best submission hold.
Yeah. I love that.
So, if the worst thing that you want to feel is tired when you're about to die.
Yeah, I've heard
And
that too.
there is a even though MMA is a pretty safe sport because we don't get bludgeoned in the head as much as boxers do, there's still a very high risk of death in there.
Yeah,
Especially
100%.
for somebody getting punched in the head with these little gloves. So the last thing you want to be is tired. So, I make sure that when I'm in my training camp, I do everything that I possibly can in order to get the cardio to where it needs to be, in order to put up these punch stat numbers, in order to be able to drown people with just volume.
Yeah, and your pressure too. I mean, you're not just active, but you're constantly pressuring. And I just couldn't. I've heard people say, in podcasts and stuff, fighters, that the worst possible thing that can go wrong in there is you get out of breath and you just lose steam. It's like almost demoralizing because you can't do anything.
You gotta have cardio like the drummer from Meshuggah and his shins.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're right, man.
Going.
The entire time you gotta be able to go.
Thomas doesn't fuck around. Like that's one band where everybody like who loves Meshuggah is just like, how is what they do even possible? Like from the rhythm patterns, the drumming, the riffs, they're top notch, man. They're so sick to see. We've seen them a number of times, and they don't disappoint, man. They're truly a classic band.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I want to see them one day. So I haven't had the opportunity to see them yet. So
hey,
one of these days
they'll be around. We'll kind of start winding it down. Let you get back to it. I've just got two more things. The first one is I'm sure I'm gonna assume happened a time or two. But let's say someone comes up to you at the gym or just in life and was like, "Hey, I know you're kind of into metal. What are three albums or artists metal wise that you'd say, hey, I think you should check this shit out, and if you like this, you like metal."
All right. I'm giving them Black Sabbath.
Okay.
I'm giving them The Sword.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And I'm giving them Napalm Death.
Fuck yeah. Napalm
I like
Death.
the spread right there.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I feel like those three bands have so many different influences throughout, and there's such different kinds of metal that each, if you dig on one, you can dig on at least 8 or 9 other ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like if you like The Sword, there's no way you're probably not going to like Mastodon or Baroness,
Yeah.
Or Witchcraft.
or witchcraft.
Yeah,
And then if you like Black Sabbath, obviously you're gonna like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. But then if you like Napalm Death, you're gonna end up liking, Carcass and things like
Exodus.
Behemoth,
Yeah.
Exodus. These
throw some
heavier
Cannibal
bands.
in there.
Yeah. I see your flag back there.
Hell yeah, you see that?
Yeah.
That is sick. And then the last thing is, how would you say metal gets you high?
You ever had lightning in the end of your dick? That's what it feels like, man. When you find a good metal song that hits you at the right time, you just feel it all coming out of you. It's like, oh yes, yeah. That's the only thing you can say is yes, and you start clenching your fist, and you know, the best thing I could make it feel towards, especially right now. I get out of work, I crank up the radio, and there's a song on that whatever I'm feeling like, whatever is good, and I got my leather jacket on, and just the wind is hitting me, and you're warm because of that leather jacket, but the cold sting of the wind,
on your
and it's
face.
like two different feelings at the same time, and you got the song just blasting through your head.
I feel that.
Man, that's A1 piece right there, man.
That was a great fucking breakdown right there. I just imagined that.
If I could recommend a song that made me feel like that, probably the most recently, it was about a year ago. There's this newer band. They're called 200 Stab Wounds. They have a song called Tow Rope Around the Throat. And dude, that song made me feel like I got kicked in the chest when I heard it. And I was like, I immediately sent it to these guys because I'm like, dude, like I haven't heard some shit. And then at the end, it has like this very like Slayer marching music type part at the end. That I was like, dude, like they're doing something. They're taking their influences, wearing them on their sleeve, but they're putting their own twist in a very tasteful way. And it was the first time I feel like I've heard something like new in a really long time in metal, where I was like, damn, like what is this? I need, like you said earlier, like I checked that song out and then I was like, dude, I gotta hear this whole fucking album. What have I been sleeping on?
Well, send me that band and that song. I'm interested. I want to hear.
Man. Hey, and you know what? The one I was thinking of was the recent release that came out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago called Masters of Morbidity. We'll send you both of them. And just this song right here, they're both, this band is fucking amazing, and they're relatively new. I mean, they've got one album out and
one album and an EP.
And an EP. Yeah, an EP. So they've been out just a couple of years, and they're fucking they're top of the list.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember listening to Pulse of the Maggots maybe a couple weeks ago, and it's the way it sounds with the siren. And then all of a sudden it's like you can hear like the dun, 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 and then Corey's voice through the megaphone.
Yeah,
it's like then all of a sudden it's like, and then it starts dun, 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 dun,
the drums.
Yeah, and
man,
it's awesome because it feels like there's so much emotion that goes into it. It's not just okay, here comes a good song. It's there's like a build up, and it's like what's going on, and all of a sudden boom boom, and it hits you in the face, and it does kick you in the chest. And all of a sudden, you hear the guitars coming in, and then the song just takes off, and you're like, and you're sucked in. You're there.
Yeah. It's an emotion. That's what music brings. A lot of times, is it? Sometimes it could carry an emotion. So I feel you, man. We put your social media links in the description because we want people to support you. Anyone who loves metal and happens to like fighting, I feel like they should be a fan. They should know about you because you're a fucking sick fighter and you're part of our niche small community, and you need the support, brother.
Yeah, man. Well, you guys keep following me at Victor Henry MMA on Twitter and Instagram. Those are the ones that I'm most active on. So
okay,
you can find me, and you can also find Josh. And if anybody wants to send metal my way, do it.
Fuck yeah. Hey, I'm glad you said that because we're gonna be sending you shit all the time. So you gotta check this shit out, man.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Solid.
Fuck yeah.
Well, Brad, you want to take us home, Brad?
I'll take us home. First off, I want to apologize that I couldn't be here most of the show. I'm at work still, doing my normie ass job,
hey,
babysitting.
Yeah, he works a normie job like all of us, and he just happened to be still there. Being
So,
so he's a
sorry about
savage.
that, but thanks for everyone for listening. Please like and subscribe to our channel. And you can catch me and Al talking NFL on Crooks and Books podcast weekly Wednesdays. And we'll send you off with that, guys. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Thank you,
Hell
Victor.
yeah.
We appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks, brother. We really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks,
All right,
Victor.
have a good night, man.
Anytime.
Bye.
Later.